The gentle hum of your smart home, the seamless swipe of your digital payment, the tailored news feed that keeps you informed. These everyday conveniences feel like the very fabric of progress, don't they? They promise efficiency, connection, and a life made easier, a vision of the future that's already here. Yet, what if the greatest deception isn't a shadowy figure lurking in the dark, but a system emerging from the very light of innovation and global cooperation we've come to embrace? This isn't about some distant, impossible future. It's about the subtle, almost imperceptible shifts happening right now across America and the world, shaping a reality where biblical prophecy isn't just history repeating, but a blueprint unfolding before our very eyes. You see, the ancient warnings from Daniel about empires rising and falling, Revelation's beast demanding worship, Matthew 24's dire pronouncements of widespread deception, and 2 Thessalonians 2's revelation of a man of lawlessness are not mere historical curiosities. They are an urgent, living narrative explaining precisely why modern Christians, often unknowingly, are becoming increasingly vulnerable to the very Antichrist system they believe they're equipped to resist. Our central thesis is bold yet undeniably clear. The greatest vulnerability for the modern Christian isn't a lack of faith, but a pervasive complacency rooted in misinterpreting prophetic signs through a purely physical lens, combined with an unwitting embrace of global digital systems designed for control, not freedom. This leaves countless believers unprepared for a deception that masquerades as progress, peace, and humanitarian aid. The stakes couldn't be higher, reaching far beyond earthly discomfort. Ignore these warnings, and you risk not only spiritual blindness but entanglement in a system that demands ultimate allegiance, potentially costing you eternal discernment and peace. Embrace this truth, however, and you gain clarity, an unshakable readiness, and a profound hope that empowers you and your loved ones to stand firm amidst the encroaching shadows. Imagine a world where your digital footprint becomes your only identity, where every transaction, every interaction, every belief is monitored, and conformity is the price of participation. That's the pressure cooker we're talking about, and understanding it is the key to navigating it. We're going to unveil what we call the digital veil, a subtle, interconnected matrix of technological, economic, and informational control that is rapidly coalescing, obscuring the true nature of the Antichrist's rising dominion, while simultaneously enabling its insidious spread. This veil isn't just technology, it's a mindset, a global narrative that promises solutions to humanity's greatest problems, but demands a profound spiritual compromise in return. Now consider this. What if the very tools designed to simplify your life are inadvertently paving the way for the ultimate control mechanism? Over the next hour, we'll peel back this veil, exploring 3 critical misinterpretations of prophecy that have left many believers exposed, focusing not on if the Antichrist will come, but how his system is already being built. We'll trace 5 distinct phases of his rise, from the quiet consolidation of global power to the overt demands of the mark of the beast, showing how each stage aligns with historical patterns and current events. We'll then expose the 4 insidious layers of the mark, revealing that it's far more than just a chip under the skin, but a comprehensive system of allegiance. And for those wondering about timing, we'll dive into the 7 prophetic markers that are converging today, acting as a divine countdown from the geopolitical reshaping of nations to the exponential advancement of surveillance technologies and centralized digital currencies. This isn't just a prediction, it's a warning and a roadmap. This isn't just a prediction, it's a warning and a roadmap. But how exactly does an ancient prophecy about a global system of control find fertile ground in the technologically advanced, seemingly free society we cherish here in America? The answer, startlingly, lies in a pervasive complacency, a comfort in the familiar that blinds us to the subtle shifts already shaping our reality. You see, the greatest vulnerability for the modern Christian isn't a lack of devotion. It's a fundamental misunderstanding, a misreading of the very signs Jesus warned us about. We're going to meticulously stack proof, not with abstract theology, but with undeniable connections that bridge millennia. We begin with the immutable truths of Scripture itself. Think of Daniel's vivid dreams, ancient visions of empires rising and falling, culminating in the little horn that speaks arrogant words and oppresses the saints. Then consider Revelation's stark, almost cinematic warnings about the beast and its mark, demanding universal allegiance, an image that has haunted believers for centuries. All, in 2 Thessalonians 2, offers a precise description of the man of lawlessness who will perform counterfeit miracles, deceiving those who refuse to love the truth. And, of course, Jesus' own words in Matthew 24, a dire pronouncement of widespread deception, wars, rumors of wars, and a chilling betrayal from within. These aren't just historical curiosities or distant apocalyptic tales. They are urgent, living narratives explaining precisely why modern Christians, often unknowingly, are becoming increasingly vulnerable to the very Antichrist system they believe they're equipped to resist. Now, here's where it gets critical. Our central thesis is bold, yet undeniably clear. This vulnerability stems from misinterpreting these prophetic signs through a purely physical, often sensationalized lens, combined with an unwitting embrace of global digital systems designed for control, not freedom. This leaves countless believers unprepared for a deception that masquerades as progress, peace, and humanitarian aid. Hold on to this thought. The ancient warnings are not just about a singular evil figure, but about a sophisticated, systemic deception that is already being built, brick by digital brick. We're going to unveil what we call the digital veil, a subtle, interconnected matrix of technological, economic, and informational control that is rapidly coalescing around us. This veil isn't just the internet or your smartphone or even biometric scans. It's a mindset, a global narrative that promises solutions to humanity's greatest problems, from climate change to financial instability, but demands a profound spiritual compromise in return. What if the very tools designed to simplify your life are inadvertently paving the way for the ultimate control mechanism? Before we dive into those 5 distinct phases of his rise, or expose the 4 insidious layers of the mark, we must first confront the 3 critical misinterpretations of prophecy that have left so many believers exposed. These aren't minor theological quibbles. They are foundational errors that distort our perception of the prophetic timeline and the nature of the coming deception. And here's where everything begins to shift. The first, and perhaps most dangerous, of these misinterpretations is the pervasive belief that the Antichrist will arrive as an undeniably evil, monstrous figure, a clear-cut villain straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster. You've seen the movies, haven't you? The Dark Lord, the ominous music, the unequivocal signs of malevolence. We've been conditioned to expect a figure so obviously wicked that no true believer could ever fall for his charms. We imagine a sinister dictator, openly declaring war on God, demanding worship with an iron fist from day one. This expectation, while comforting in its clarity, is precisely what leaves us most vulnerable. Think about it. Who would knowingly follow pure evil? Who would willingly pledge allegiance to a system that openly declares its intent to destroy all that is good? No, the Scripture warns us of a far more insidious deception. Paul, in 2 Corinthians, talks about Satan himself masquerading as an angel of light and his servants as ministers of righteousness. This isn't about obvious darkness. It's about a dazzling, deceptive light. The Antichrist, far from being a grotesque tyrant, will likely emerge as the ultimate problem solver, a charismatic leader offering solutions to humanity's most pressing issues: global instability, economic crises, environmental collapse. He will promise peace, prosperity, and unity, much like a visionary CEO or a beloved statesman. And here's where the pain sets in, isn't it? Many good-hearted Christians, focused on the overt signs of badness, miss the subtle, almost imperceptible shifts around them. They embrace the latest app promising convenience, the global initiative promising stability, the new financial system promising equity, all because these advancements seem to be good things, designed to alleviate suffering. You scroll through your news feed, seeing reports of rising crime, political polarization, or the latest climate disaster. And then you see a proposed solution, a global digital identity perhaps, or a centralized currency system designed to eliminate fraud and streamline aid. It sounds so logical, so benevolent. You might even applaud it, thinking finally some real progress. But this is precisely the digital veil at work, obscuring the true nature of what's unfolding. This subtle embrace of seemingly beneficial systems without deep spiritual discernment is the first crack in the foundation. We've been lulled into a sense of security, believing that if something isn't overtly demonic, it must be benign. But what if the greatest threat isn't the roaring lion, but the wolf in sheep's clothing, offering a comforting embrace? And this leads us directly to the second critical misinterpretation, one that has profound implications for how we understand the very timing of these prophecies. You see, the conventional wisdom, shaped perhaps by decades of cinematic portrayals and even well-intentioned but misguided interpretations, has often painted a picture of the Antichrist as an overtly evil, universally despised figure, a kind of diabolical dictator who seizes power through brute force, demanding worship from day one. You might envision a scene straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster, a shadowy cabal, a sudden global takeover, and a clear, unmistakable declaration of war against all things good. This expectation, this ingrained narrative, is precisely the second critical misinterpretation that leaves so many vulnerable. We're looking for the roaring lion, remember? But what if the true danger lies in the wolf, cloaked not just in sheep's wool, but in the shimmering garb of a global savior? This isn't about some distant, impossible future. It's about the subtle, almost imperceptible shifts happening right now, shaping a world where biblical prophecy isn't just history repeating, but a blueprint unfolding before our eyes. We've been taught to anticipate a villain, but the scriptures, if we read them closely, describe a deceiver. They speak of a charismatic leader who brings about a false peace, who offers solutions to the world's most intractable problems: climate change, economic instability, widespread disease, social unrest. Think about it. In a world craving unity and stability, a figure who promises to heal the divisions, to feed the hungry, to end the conflicts, wouldn't be met with immediate scorn. He would be hailed as a genius, a humanitarian, perhaps even a messiah. This purely physical lens through which many modern Christians view prophecy, focusing on outward displays of evil rather than the insidious nature of spiritual deception, blinds us to the true strategy. We expect the storm to be loud and destructive, but perhaps the most dangerous storm arrives silently, cloaked in a serene sky, promising relief. Consider the global sentiment today, a collective exhaustion with division, a yearning for common ground, for a unifying purpose. Into this void steps a leader, not with a sword, but with a blueprint for a better world, a digital solution for every physical problem, a promise of universal prosperity and peace. He won't appear as the Antichrist. He will emerge as the Christ, at least to a world desperate for one. And this brings us to a chilling realization. The very systems we're embracing for convenience, for security, for global cohesion, the digital currencies, the biometric IDs, the AI-driven governance, are not just benign tools. They are the scaffolding for this benevolent deception. They are the infrastructure that allows the wolf to wear his sheep's clothing so convincingly, making compliance not just easy, but seemingly logical, even virtuous. The question then isn't whether you'll recognize evil when it shows its face, but whether you'll recognize ultimate control when it's packaged as ultimate comfort. And before we dive into the specific phases of this subtle rise, there's another layer of misdirection we absolutely must uncover, one that goes even deeper into the heart of our spiritual preparedness. You see, the Antichrist's power won't just be economic or technological. His most potent weapon will be a spiritual one, a subtle manipulation of our very understanding of faith, prophecy, and even God himself. We've built mental barricades, haven't we? We imagine a clear, undeniable evil, a cartoon villain with horns and a pitchfork. But what if that very image is part of the deception? This brings us to what we call the prophetic myopia. It's the pervasive tendency to view biblical prophecy, especially concerning the end times, through an exclusively physical, literal, and often sensationalized lens. We look for a microchip, a specific political leader, a visible global army, and in doing so, we often miss the deeper, more insidious spiritual and systemic shifts already underway. You're expecting a dragon, but you're getting a charismatic philanthropist, a brilliant problem solver, a unifying voice in a fractured world. This isn't just about missing a sign. It's about fundamentally misunderstanding the nature of the beast. Imagine yourself, a devout Christian, watching the news. There's a new global initiative promising universal peace, economic stability, and environmental salvation. It requires digital ID, sure, but it's for your protection, for efficiency. Your pastor preaches about love and unity, about being good citizens. The system feels benevolent, even necessary. You're not seeing the overt evil you were taught to expect. There are no burning crosses, no overt demands to deny Christ. Instead, there's just a gentle nudge towards conformity, a soft pressure to participate for the greater good. You feel a quiet unease, a whisper of doubt, but your conditioning, your focus on the physical manifestation of evil, tells you it can't be it. This isn't the dragon, this is just progress. And in that moment of rationalization, the Antichrist system gains another foothold, not through force, but through your own well-meaning but myopic interpretation. Think about it. For generations, Sunday school lessons and popular culture have fixated on a literal mark in the hand or forehead, often depicted as a visible tattoo or an implanted chip. While these physical manifestations are certainly part of the prophecy, the obsession with them has often overshadowed the deeper spiritual meaning, allegiance. The mark isn't just a physical identifier, it's a declaration of loyalty, a willingness to participate in a system that ultimately denies God. This narrow focus means that when the system arrives, not as a crude, obvious branding, but as an integrated, seemingly benign framework for society, many will simply not recognize it. They'll be looking for the physical scar, while the chains of spiritual compromise are already tightening. So, if our focus on the physical blinds us to the spiritual, what then is the true nature of this allegiance, and how does it manifest in the everyday choices we make? Choices that seem utterly harmless. We're about to uncover the subtle ways this prophetic myopia has already begun to shape our spiritual landscape, making us unwitting participants in the very system we believe we're prepared to resist. If this deeper look into how we interpret prophecy has started to shift your perspective, if this idea of prophetic myopia resonates, then subscribe now to ensure you don't miss the continuation of this vital series. And if you comment "Wake Up" below, I'll release a visual summary of these critical vulnerabilities in the pinned comment, helping you internalize these truths. This leads us now to the 3 critical misinterpretations of prophecy that have left many believers exposed, starting with the first and perhaps most dangerous oversight. The literal blind spot. We, as modern believers, have often been conditioned to expect the Antichrist to arrive with the dramatic fanfare of a Hollywood blockbuster villain, a figure so overtly evil, so undeniably demonic, that no one could possibly mistake him. We pore over maps, looking for a specific temple to be rebuilt in Jerusalem, or a singular individual to declare himself God, demanding worship in a grand public spectacle. This expectation, while rooted in some scriptural truths, has paradoxically become a profound vulnerability, a form of prophetic myopia that blinds us to the subtle, insidious preparations already underway. Think about it. For decades, we've anticipated a physical mark, a visible tattoo or chip, something undeniably sinister that will be forced upon us at the point of a spear. But what if the system that demands allegiance is far more sophisticated, woven into the very fabric of our digital lives, so integrated that opting out feels not like a spiritual stand, but an act of economic and social self-destruction. This isn't about dismissing the literal aspects of prophecy, but recognizing that the spirit of the Antichrist, as John warned, is already at work, quietly building infrastructure, shaping narratives, and normalizing control long before the grand unveiling of any singular leader. We focus so intently on the who and the when of the Antichrist's arrival that we've often overlooked the how, the slow, almost imperceptible creep of a global digital infrastructure that now governs nearly every aspect of our lives. Consider the seamless integration of digital payments, the ubiquitous biometric scanning at airports, or the personalized algorithms that curate our news and entertainment. Each step feels like progress, convenience, or security. Yet each step also tightens the invisible threads of the digital veil, making dissent or nonconformity increasingly difficult, if not impossible. We're waiting for a monster to emerge from the shadows, while the very light of innovation is constructing the cage around us. This literal blind spot leaves us vulnerable because it encourages a passive waiting game, a belief that we'll simply know when the time comes, that the signs will be so unmistakable, a flashing neon arrow pointing to the Antichrist. But what if the deception is far more nuanced, presenting itself not as evil, but as the only logical solution to global crises, pandemics, climate change, economic instability, even social unrest? What if the system promises universal peace, prosperity, and security, demanding only a small, seemingly insignificant compromise of our autonomy in return? This isn't about a sudden dramatic imposition, but a gradual erosion of freedom, an opt-in control mechanism that promises to solve the very problems that plague us. And here's where it truly gets chilling. Because we're so fixated on a singular physical manifestation, we fail to see how our reliance on these digital conveniences, our trust in global institutions, and our comfort with centralized authority are already paving the way for the ultimate system of control. Now, hold on to that thought, because the second critical misinterpretation of prophecy takes this a step further, revealing how our modern emphasis on personal comfort and material blessing has inadvertently disarmed us against a spiritual war. You see, this pursuit of personal comfort and material blessing, while seemingly benign, creates a profound spiritual blind spot. We've been conditioned, generation after generation, to believe that progress means less friction, more ease, and a life free from hardship. From the instant gratification of online shopping to the seamless convenience of contactless payments at your local grocery store, our lives in America are meticulously engineered for comfort. We've come to expect it, to demand it, even within our faith. The subtle, yet potent lie is that God's blessing always manifests as material prosperity and a trouble-free existence. This belief, however, inadvertently disarms us, making us susceptible to any system that promises to deliver exactly that: peace, security, and a frictionless life. Imagine for a moment the profound anxiety that ripples through a community when a major economic downturn hits or a global crisis threatens supply chains. The immediate, almost primal human response is to seek stability, to crave a return to normalcy and comfort. Now, consider a charismatic leader or a powerful global system that steps forward offering comprehensive solutions to these very anxieties. It promises universal basic income, seamless digital currencies that eliminate fraud, and AI-driven governance that ensures order and prosperity for all. Suddenly, the allure isn't just convenience, it's survival. It's the restoration of that cherished comfort. This is precisely where the digital veil tightens its grip. It doesn't present itself as an oppressive force, but as the benevolent architect of a better world, solving the problems that plague us. It will offer solutions to climate change, to poverty, to disease, all through integrated, technologically advanced systems that demand our participation. And because we've been taught that blessing looks like ease and abundance, many will embrace these solutions without question, seeing them as divine intervention rather than a carefully constructed path to control. The pain here isn't just the physical discomfort of deprivation, but the psychological agony of social isolation and economic exclusion for those who dare to resist. You're left watching your neighbors thrive, while your principled stand forces you into a life of increasing difficulty. Now, here's the crucial turning point. The third critical misinterpretation of prophecy, the one that truly seals our vulnerability, isn't about what we expect to see, but how we expect to fight. Many modern Christians are waiting for a literal, overtly evil figure to appear on the world stage, declaring himself God with a booming voice from the sky. They envision a clear, unmistakable villain, easily identified and resisted. But what if the Antichrist's rise is far more subtle, more persuasive, and cloaked in the very language of peace and progress that we hold so dear? What if he doesn't arrive as a conquering tyrant, but as a compassionate problem solver, a unifying force who appears to embody everything good and right, even echoing religious sentiments? And here's the chilling truth. He will. He will arrive not as a monster, but as a Messiah for a world in chaos, offering solutions that seem too good to refuse, woven into the very fabric of the digital veil we've explored. This isn't about fear, it's about clarity. It's about recognizing that the ancient prophecies aren't distant tales, but a living blueprint unfolding before our eyes, explaining precisely why modern Christians are uniquely vulnerable. We've seen how misinterpretations, combined with an unwitting embrace of global digital systems, have left many unprepared for a deception that masquerades as progress and peace. Your discernment, your readiness, and your unwavering faith are now more crucial than ever. This journey has shown us that true understanding is the only path to standing firm, to seeing beyond the seductive promises of a system that demands ultimate allegiance. This isn't a message of despair, but an urgent call to awakened hope. To be forewarned is to be forearmed. You now possess a clearer framework for discerning deception, a profound, lucid hope that transcends fear. You are no longer a helpless observer, but a discerning sentinel, equipped to navigate these turbulent times. If you stayed until now, you are part of this community, committed to truth. Click on the next episode, because there I open the 7 prophetic markers that are converging today, acting as a divine countdown, and reveal practical steps to safeguard your spiritual and physical freedom.